Dog protects homeless man every night. What happens next is heartwarming. How will this story unfold? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. The city never truly slept. Its streets buzzed with activity, even in the dead of night, as the hum of traffic and the occasional shouts of passers-by echoed through the concrete maze. On a quiet corner near an old brick building, Sam lay curled up on a tattered blanket, his worldly possessions packed into a small, frayed backpack beside him. The chill of the night bit through his worn jacket, but he barely noticed anymore. After years of living on the streets, he had grown used to the cold. What he hadn't grown used to was the loneliness. Sam stared up at the dim glow of a street lamp, his mind drifting through fragmented memories of a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. Once, he had a home, a job, and people who cared about him. But life had a way of unraveling slowly, like a thread pulled from a sweater, until he was left with nothing but the clothes on his back and the streets beneath his feet. But Sam wasn't entirely alone. Beside him, Max lay alert, his ears perked and his sharp eyes scanning the darkness. The stray dog had appeared in Sam's life one fateful evening, and since then, they had been inseparable. Max was lean, with a coat that was a patchwork of brown and white, and a scar that ran along his left flank, a reminder of the struggles he had faced before finding Sam. Sam reached out a hand, and Max immediately nuzzled against it, his tail wagging softly. "You're a good boy, Max," Sam murmured, his voice rough but warm. "Don't know what I'd do without you." Max let out a quiet whine, as if understanding every word. He lay down closer to Sam, his body pressed against his side, providing warmth and comfort in the cold night. For Sam, Max wasn't just a companion, he was a protector. The streets were harsh and unpredictable, and Sam had learned the hard way that he couldn't trust everyone who approached him. But Max was different. The dog had an uncanny ability to sense danger, growling low in his throat whenever someone with ill intentions got too close. More than once, Max had scared off would-be thieves or troublemakers, ensuring Sam could sleep safely, even if only for a few hours at a time. As the night deepened, a group of rowdy teens passed by, their laughter loud and grating. Sam tensed instinctively, but Max stood his ground, his posture firm and his eyes locked on a group. One of the teens noticed the dog and stopped, nudging his friend. "Hey, look at that mutt," he said with a sneer. "Bet we could scare it off." The others laughed, but before they could step closer, Max let out a deep, menacing growl, his teeth bared and his stance unyielding. The teens hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. "Forget it," one of them muttered. "Not worth it." They moved on, their laughter fading into the distance. Max stayed in his defensive position for a moment longer before relaxing and sitting back down beside Sam. "Good boy," Sam said again, reaching out to pat Max's head. His voice was filled with gratitude and pride. "You always know how to keep me safe." Max wagged his tail, his amber eyes softening as he looked at Sam. There was a quiet understanding between them, a bond forged in shared struggle and mutual trust. Sam leaned back against the cold brick wall, his mind drifting to the day he first met Max. It had been one of those evenings where the city felt particularly unforgiving, gray skies looming overhead and a damp chill in the air. Sam had been walking through an alleyway behind a row of shops, searching for discarded food when he heard a faint whimper. Curiosity piqued. He followed the sound to a pile of cardboard boxes stacked near a dumpster. That's when he saw him, a thin, trembling dog lying on its side, a fresh gash on its flank and eyes clouded with fear and pain. The sight made Sam's chest tighten. "Hey, buddy," Sam said softly, crouching down and extending a hand. "What happened to you?" The dog flinched but didn't move to run, too weak to do much more than lift its head. Sam took a step closer, his movements slow and deliberate. "It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you." He rummaged through his backpack, pulling out a half-eaten sandwich he had been saving. Carefully, he tore off a piece and held it out. The dog hesitated, its nose twitching as it caught the scent of food. Hunger overpowered its fear, and it tentatively leaned forward to take the offering. "There you go," Sam murmured, a small smile forming on his lips. "See? I'm not so bad." Over the next hour, Sam worked to gain the dog's trust, offering more pieces of his sandwich and speaking in low, soothing tones. Eventually, the dog allowed him to examine its wound. It wasn't deep, but it needed to be cleaned. Sam used some water from a bottle and a spare piece of cloth to gently clean the injury, all the while marveling at the dog's patience. By the time the sun set, The dog was walking beside him, albeit with slight limp. Sam had intended to leave the dog at a nearby park, hoping someone more equipped to help would find it. But when he tried to walk away, the dog followed, its amber eyes filled with quiet determination. "You're not going to leave me, are you?" Sam said, chuckling despite himself. "Well, I guess we're stuck with each other now." He named the dog Max, a simple yet strong name that seemed to fit. From that day on, Max had been by his side, and their bond only grew stronger with each passing moment. Back in the present, Sam smiled at the memory, his hand resting on Max's head. "You've always been stubborn," he said, his voice filled with affection. Max looked up at him, his tail wagging faintly. The sun began to rise, casting a golden glow over the city streets. Sam packed up his blanket and belongings, preparing for another day of navigating the challenges of life on the streets. Max stayed close, his sharp eyes scanning their surroundings as they made their way to a nearby park. The park was one of Sam's favorite spots. It was a place where he could sit and feel a semblance of peace, even if only for a little while. Max seemed to enjoy it too, often lying on the grass and soaking up the sun. Today was no different. As Sam settled onto a bench, Max lay at his feet, his head resting on his paws. "Morning, Sam," a familiar voice called out. Sam looked up to see Maria, the owner of a small cafe near the park. She was holding a steaming cup of coffee in a paper bag, her kind smile making her appear younger than her years. "Morning, Maria," Sam replied, sitting up a little straighter. Maria handed him the coffee and the bag. "Thought you might like something warm to start the day." Sam's eyes softened with gratitude. "You didn't have to do that." "Nonsense," Maria said, waving him off. "You've been looking out for this neighborhood for years. Consider it my way of saying thanks." Sam opened the bag to find a freshly baked muffin. His stomach growled in response, and he chuckled. "Thank you, Maria. This means a lot." Maria crouched down to pet Max, who greeted her with a wagging tail. "And how's my favorite guard dog?" she cooed. "Keeping Sam out of trouble, I hope." Max licked her hand in response, earning a laugh. "He's the best partner I could ask for," Sam said, watching the interaction. "Don't know where I'd be without him." Maria's expression grew thoughtful. "You know, Sam, a bond like yours doesn't come around often. Max isn't just any dog, he's special." Sam nodded, his gaze shifting to Max. "Yeah, he is." As the morning wore on, more people passed through the park, some stopping to greet Sam and Max. One of them, a young woman named Rachel, paused to take a photo of the pair. "Do you mind?" she asked. "I think people need to hear your story." Sam hesitated, unsure of how to respond. He wasn't used to being the center of attention, but Rachel's earnest expression made it hard to say no. "I guess it's okay," he said finally. Rachel beamed, snapping a few photos before sitting down beside him. "So, how long have you two been together?" she asked, gesturing to Max. "About 2 years," Sam replied, his voice soft. "Found him in an alley, hurt and scared. We've been looking out for each other ever since." Rachel listened intently as Sam recounted their journey, her eyes lighting up with admiration. "That's incredible," she said. "Max isn't just your dog, he's your partner, your protector." Sam chuckled. "Yeah, I guess you could say that." Rachel posted the photos and story online that afternoon, and within hours, it began to gain traction. Comments poured in from people moved by the bond between Sam and Max. Some offered words of encouragement, while others asked how they could help. Sam was unaware of the growing attention until Maria approached him later that evening. "Sam," she said, holding up her phone, "you're famous." "What do you mean?" Sam asked, his brow furrowing. Maria handed him the phone, showing him Rachel's post. Sam's eyes widened as he scrolled through the comments, his chest tightening with a mix of emotions. He wasn't sure how to feel about so many strangers knowing his story, but one thing was clear, they cared. "You deserve this, Sam," Maria said gently. "You and Max have something special, and people want to support you." Sam glanced down at Max, who was lying at his feet as usual, his tail wagging slightly. "We're just trying to get by," he said. "That's all." "And that's what makes your story so powerful," Maria replied. "You show people what loyalty and love really mean." As the sun set over the city, Sam sat on the bench, his thoughts swirling. The tension was overwhelming, but it also brought a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Max nuzzled his hand, as if sensing his emotions. "We've been through a lot, buddy," Sam said, his voice barely above a whisper. But maybe this is the start of something new. Max wagged his tail, his eyes filled with the quiet confidence that had carried them through so many dark nights. Together, they faced the uncertain future, ready for whatever came next. The morning after Rachel's post went viral, Sam awoke to an unusual sight. Several people were gathered near his usual bench at the park, their faces alight with curiosity and warmth. Max, ever the protector, was already sitting upright, his amber eyes fixed on the crowd as he monitored their movements. Sam rubbed his eyes, adjusting to the unexpected attention. He had grown used to being invisible, a shadow in the bustling city, but now it seemed everyone wanted to meet him and Max. "Good morning," a cheerful woman said, stepping forward. She was holding a bag that looked suspiciously full of dog treats. "Are you Sam? And is this Max?" Sam hesitated, his hand instinctively moving to pat Max's head. "Yeah, that's us," he said cautiously. The woman beamed. "I saw your story online and just had to come by. Max is such an amazing dog, and your bond is so inspiring. I brought some treats for him, and there's a little something for you too." She handed Sam a bag containing a sandwich, a bottle of water, and an envelope. Sam blinked in surprise, overwhelmed by the gesture. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "That's really kind of you." Others in the group began stepping forward, each offering something: a warm jacket, a gift card to a local cafe, even a small toy for Max. Sam accepted each gift with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief, his heart swelling at the outpouring of kindness. Max, for his part, seemed to sense the positivity in the air. He wagged his tail enthusiastically, leaning into the hands of those who came to pet him. For a dog who had once been wary of strangers, Max seemed to understand that these people meant no harm. As the days went by, the tension only grew. More and more people visited the park, bringing gifts and sharing words of encouragement. Maria's cafe became a hub for those who wanted to help, with donations piling up and messages of support coming in from all over the city. Sam felt a whirlwind of emotions. On one hand, he was deeply touched by the kindness of strangers. On the other, he struggled with feelings of vulnerability. He had spent so much time living in the shadows, and now he was in the spotlight, a place he never thought he'd be. One evening, as he sat on a park bench with Max curled up beside him, Maria joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Sam and sat down, her expression thoughtful. "You okay?" she asked gently. Sam took a sip of the coffee, savoring its warmth. "I don't know," he admitted. "It's a lot to take in. I'm grateful, don't get me wrong, but it's also overwhelming." Maria nodded, her gaze drifting to Max, who was watching the sunset with quiet contentment. "You've been through so much, Sam. It's okay to feel that way. But you should know that people see something special in you and Max. Your story is giving them hope." Sam was quiet for a moment, his hand resting on Max's back. "I never thought anyone would care," he said finally. "I'm just trying to get by, one day at a time." "And that's exactly why they care," Maria said with a smile. "You and Max have shown them what loyalty and resilience look like. That's something worth celebrating." Sam looked at her, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Thank you," he said softly, "for everything. One night, something happened that would change everything." Sam and Max were settling in for the evening, their usual spot on the park bench providing a familiar sense of comfort. The city lights twinkled in the distance, and the air was cool but not unbearably so. As Sam drifted off to sleep, he was jolted awake by Max's sharp bark. The dog was on his feet, his body tense, and his eyes fixed on something in the darkness. Sam followed his gaze and saw a man approaching, staggering, with a bottle in his hand and an unsteady gait. "Hey," the man slurred, his voice loud and abrasive. "What are you doing here?" Sam sat up, his heart pounding. "Just minding my own business," he said calmly, hoping to de-escalate the situation. The man laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "This is my spot now," he said, taking a step closer. "You need to leave." Max let out another bark, louder this time, his body positioned protectively in front of Sam. The man froze, eyeing the dog warily. "What's with the mutt?" he sneered. "He's my friend," Sam said, his voice steady despite the fear creeping into his chest. "And he doesn't like trouble." For a tense moment, it seemed like the man might back down. But then he lunged, his movements clumsy but threatening. Before he could get close, Max leapt forward, barking furiously and snapping at the air between them. The man stumbled back, cursing under his breath. "Crazy dog," he muttered before turning and disappearing into the night. Sam let out a shaky breath, his hands trembling. "Good boy, Max," he said, his voice filled with gratitude and relief. "You always know how to keep me safe." Max wagged his tail, his body relaxing as he returned to Sam's side. The bond between them had never felt stronger. Word of the incident spread quickly, thanks to a passerby who had witnessed it and shared the story online. The post painted Max as a hero. It wasn't long before local news outlets picked up the story. Within days, reporters began showing up at the park, eager to interview Sam and meet Max. At first, Sam was hesitant. He wasn't used to being the center of attention, but Maria encouraged him to share his story. "This is your chance," she said. "Let people know who you are and what Max means to you." With her support, Sam agreed. He spoke candidly about his life on the streets, his struggles, and how Max had given him a sense of purpose and protection. The story resonated deeply with viewers, sparking an outpouring of support from across the city. Donations poured in: money, supplies, offers of housing, and even job opportunities. Sam was overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers, but he knew he couldn't accept everything. He wanted to make sure that the help he received would allow him to build a sustainable future for himself and Max. As the community rallied around Sam and Max, their lives began to change. A local shelter offered Sam a temporary place to stay, and a nonprofit organization helped him secure a part-time job at a nearby animal rescue center. It was a perfect fit. Sam had always had a soft spot for animals, and working with them felt like a natural extension of his bond with Max. For the first time in years, Sam felt a glimmer of hope. He was no longer just surviving, he was rebuilding. Max, of course, remained by his side every step of the way. Whether they were walking to work, spending quiet evenings at the shelter, or playing in the park, their bond only grew stronger. Max had given Sam more than protection. He had given him a reason to believe in the kindness of others and the possibility of a better future. Sam's life was changing in ways he never thought possible. The community's outpouring of support had lifted him off the streets, giving him a chance to start over. Each day felt like a small victory, whether it was waking up in a warm bed at the shelter or heading to his new job at the animal rescue center with Max trotting happily by his side. At the rescue center, Sam quickly became a favorite among the staff and volunteers. His natural empathy for animals shone through in everything he did, from soothing scared puppies to cleaning kennels with a smile. Max, too, became a fixture at the center, often lying by the front desk and greeting visitors with a wagging tail. One afternoon, as Sam was feeding a group of kittens, the center's director, Ellen, approached him with a thoughtful expression. "Sam, do you have a moment to talk?" she asked. Sam set down the bowl of food and nodded. "Of course." Ellen led him to her office, where she gestured for him to sit. "I wanted to tell you how impressed I've been with your work," she began. "You've gone above and beyond, and it's clear that you have a real gift when it comes to working with animals." Sam felt a flush of pride. "Thank you, Ellen. That means a lot. I've been thinking," she continued, "about offering you a more permanent position here. It would come with a steady paycheck and the opportunity to take on more responsibilities." Sam blinked, stunned by the offer. For so long, stability had seemed like an unattainable dream. Now it was within his grasp. "I don't know what to say," he stammered. "This is more than I ever hoped for." Ellen smiled warmly. "You've earned it, Sam. And I think you and Max have a lot more to offer. What do you say?" Sam glanced down at Max, who was lying at his feet, his tail thumping against the floor. The dog's unwavering loyalty and strength had brought him this far, and Sam knew he couldn't have done it without him. "I'd be honored," he said finally, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you." The new job brought structure and purpose to Sam's days. Each morning, he and Max would walk to the rescue center, their steps lighter with each passing day. Sam found joy in the little things, watching a shy dog come out of its shell, seeing a once-neglected animal find a loving home, and knowing that he was making a difference. Max, as always, was by his side through it all. He had become a quiet symbol of resilience and loyalty, not just for Sam, but for everyone who visited the center. Parents often brought their children to meet Max, sharing his story as a lesson in kindness and perseverance. One particularly busy afternoon, a family came into the center looking to adopt a dog. The parents, Sarah and David, explained that their young son, Ethan, had been struggling with anxiety, and they hoped a furry companion might help. Ellen introduced them to Sam, who immediately suggested a gentle golden retriever named Daisy. As Sam led them to Daisy's kennel, Max followed closely, his tail wagging as he sniffed curiously at the family. Ethan, who had been clinging to his mother's hand, suddenly broke into a smile. "Is that Max?" he asked, his eyes wide. Sam nodded, crouching down to Ethan's level. "It sure is. Do you know about Max?" Ethan nodded eagerly. "My teacher told us his story. She said he's a hero." Sam felt a lump in his throat as he glanced at Max, who was now nuzzling Ethan's hand. "He's my hero," Sam said softly, "and he's helped me in ways I can't even explain." Ethan's smile grew, and as he met Daisy for the first time, it was clear that the gentle dog was exactly what he needed. By the end of the visit, the family had decided to adopt Daisy, and Ethan left the center with a newfound sense of excitement and confidence. As they walked out the door, Sarah turned to Sam with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "You've made a bigger difference than you know." The months passed, and Sam's life continued to improve. With the stability of his new job, he was able to save enough money to move out of the shelter and into a small apartment. It wasn't much, a single room with a kitchenette and a bathroom, but it was his, and that made all the difference. Max adjusted quickly to their new home, claiming a spot by the window where he could watch the world go by. Sam often found himself marveling at how far they had come, from cold nights on the streets to the warmth and safety of their own space. One evening, as Sam was preparing dinner, there was a knock at the door. He opened it to find Rachel, the young woman who had taken the photo that started it all. She was holding a framed copy of her original post, now printed alongside an article about Sam and Max's journey. "I thought you might like this," Rachel said, handing it to him. Sam took the frame, his hands trembling slightly. The headline read, "A man, a dog, and the power of loyalty. How one stray changed two lives." The article detailed their story, from Max's rescue to the incredible support they had received from the community. "Thank you," Sam said, his voice barely above a whisper. "This means so much." Rachel smiled. "You've inspired a lot of people, Sam, and I'm so glad to see how far you've come." As she left, Sam hung the frame on the wall, a reminder of the journey he and Max had shared. He sat down beside Max, running a hand through the dog's soft fur. "We did it, buddy," he said. "We really did." Max wagged his tail, his amber eyes filled with the same quiet confidence that had carried them through their darkest days. For the first time in years, Sam felt truly at peace. Sam and Max had come a long way from their nights on the park bench. Their small apartment had become a sanctuary, a place where the world felt less harsh and where their bond could grow even stronger. For Max, it was a space filled with warmth and love, a far cry from the cold alleys where he once roamed alone. For Sam, it was proof that second chances were real. With the stability of his new life, Sam started thinking about ways he could give back. The kindness he had received from the community had transformed his world, and he wanted to pass that kindness on to others. One evening, as he sat at the kitchen table with Max lying at his feet, an idea began to form. "What do you think, Max?" Sam said, scratching the dog's ears. "What if we helped others like us, people who need a little hope, a little support?" Max wagged his tail, as if in agreement, and Sam smiled. "Yeah," he said. "We've got a story to tell. Maybe it's time to share it." The next day, at the Animal Rescue Center, Sam brought up his idea with Ellen. He proposed organizing an outreach program that would bring rescue animals to shelters and community centers, providing companionship and emotional support to people in need. "I think it could make a real difference," Sam said, his voice filled with conviction. "There are so many people out there who feel alone, who need the kind of connection that animals can bring." "I know I did." Ellen's face lit up as she listened. "That's a wonderful idea, Sam," she said, "and I can't think of anyone better to lead it." With Ellen's support, Sam began planning the program. He worked tirelessly, coordinating with local shelters and recruiting volunteers to help. Max became the unofficial mascot of the initiative, his story inspiring everyone who joined the effort. The first event was held at a nearby homeless shelter. Sam arrived with Max and a group of volunteers, each accompanied by a rescue animal. The room buzzed with anticipation as residents gathered, curious about the program. As Sam introduced himself and shared his story, the room grew quiet. He spoke candidly about his struggles, his time on the streets, and how Max had saved him, not just physically, but emotionally. "I wouldn't be here today without Max," Sam said, his voice steady but emotional. He gave me hope when I had none, and I believe that every person deserves to feel that kind of connection. The room erupted in applause, and as the residents began interacting with the animals, the atmosphere shifted. Smiles replaced weary expressions, and laughter filled the air. Max, as always, was at the center of it all, patiently allowing children to pet him and adults to share quiet moments by his side. Over the next few months, the outreach program grew. More shelters and community centers signed on, and local businesses began sponsoring events. Sam found himself busier than ever, but it was a kind of busy that filled him with purpose and joy. One afternoon, as he and Max were preparing for an event, Maria stopped by the rescue center. She was carrying a box of freshly baked cookies, her smile as warm as ever. "I just wanted to say how proud I am of you," Maria said, setting the box on the table. "You've turned your life around, Sam, and you're helping so many others in the process." Sam felt a swell of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said. "You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Maria shook her head. "You had it in you all along. Max just helped you see it." As Maria left, Sam glanced at Max, who was lying on the floor with his head on his paws. "She's right, you know," Sam said. "You've always been my guiding light." Max wagged his tail, his amber eyes filled with quiet understanding. The program's success didn't go unnoticed. Local news outlets began covering the events, shining a spotlight on Sam and Max's work. One evening, Sam was invited to appear on a television talk show to share their story. As he sat under the bright studio lights with Max by his side, Sam felt a mix of nerves and excitement. The host, a kind woman named Grace, greeted him warmly and introduced him to the audience. "Sam, your story has touched so many people," Grace said. "Can you tell us a little about how it all began?" Sam nodded, his hands resting on Max's back. "It started with Max," he said. "I found him injured in an alley, and we've been looking out for each other ever since. He gave me a reason to keep going when I felt like giving up." Grace smiled. "And now you're helping others through your outreach program. What inspired you to take that step?" Sam's gaze softened as he looked at Max. "I know what it's like to feel invisible, to think no one cares. Max taught me that everyone deserves to feel seen and valued. I wanted to bring that message to others." The audience erupted in applause, and as the interview continued, Sam felt a sense of pride and fulfillment. He wasn't just telling his story, he was proving that hope and kindness could change lives. As the months turned into a year, Sam's life continued to flourish. The outreach program expanded beyond the city, reaching neighboring communities and inspiring similar initiatives in other areas. Sam's work earned him recognition, but he remained humble, always crediting Max for the journey they had shared. One evening, as Sam and Max sat on their favorite park bench, watching the sunset, Sam reflected on how far they had come. The bench had once been a symbol of struggle, a place where they sought shelter from the harshness of the world. Now, it was a place of peace, a reminder of the resilience and love that had carried them through. "You changed my life, Max," Sam said, his voice thick with emotion. "And because of you, I've been able to help others. I'll never be able to thank you enough." Max nuzzled his hand, his tail wagging softly. The unspoken bond between them said more than words ever could. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Sam felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had been given a second chance, a chance to build a better life, to give back, and to honor the loyalty and love of the dog who had saved him. As Sam and Max's outreach program continued to expand, their bond remained the heart of everything they did. Each new event brought new faces, new stories, and new opportunities to inspire others. Sam had never thought of himself as a public figure, but with Max by his side, he felt a sense of purpose that outweighed any discomfort. One day, as Sam was preparing for a large event at a community center, he received a phone call from an unfamiliar number. Hesitating for a moment, he answered, his voice cautious. "Hello. Is this Sam?" A warm voice on the other end asked. "My name is Charlotte. I'm the director of a national nonprofit that provides support to homeless individuals and their pets. I've been following your story, and I'd love to discuss a potential partnership." Sam's heart raced. He had heard the organization before. It was well known for its efforts to provide veterinary care, food, and shelter for homeless individuals and their animals. "Of course," he said, his voice steady despite his excitement. "I'd be happy to talk. Charlotte explained that the nonprofit was planning a nationwide campaign to raise awareness about the challenges faced by homeless individuals with pets. She believed that Sam and Max's story could serve as the centerpiece of the campaign, highlighting the unique bond between people and their animals. "We want to share your journey with as many people as possible," Charlotte said. "Your work has already inspired so many, and we believe it can inspire even more on a larger scale." Sam felt a mix of pride and apprehension. The thought of sharing his story on such a wide platform was daunting, but he knew it was an opportunity to make a real impact. "I'd be honored," he said finally. "Max and I are ready to help however we can." The campaign launched a few months later, featuring a series of videos, articles, and social media posts centered on Sam and Max's story. The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from across the country, with people sharing their own experiences of resilience and the ways their pets had helped them through difficult times. One video in particular captured the hearts of millions. It showed Sam and Max walking through the park where their journey had begun, interspersed with clips of their work at the rescue center and outreach events. Sam spoke candidly about the challenges he had faced, his voice steady but emotional as he described the moment he found Max and how their bond had saved his life. The video ended with a powerful message: "Loyalty knows no bounds. Together, we can make a difference." The campaign's success brought new opportunities for Sam. He was invited to speak at conferences, participate in panel discussions, and even meet with lawmakers to advocate for policies that supported homeless individuals with pets. Through it all, Max remained by his side, his quiet strength grounding Sam in moments of doubt. Despite the whirlwind of activity, Sam made sure to stay connected to the community that had first supported him. He continued to spend time at the Animal Rescue Center, working with Ellen and the volunteers to care for the animals and organize events. Max, as always, was a constant presence, his wagging tail and gentle demeanor bringing comfort to everyone he met. One afternoon, as Sam was walking through the center, he noticed a young boy sitting in one of the kennels. The boy, who couldn't have been older than 10, was quietly petting a timid dog that had recently been brought in. The dog's tail wagged hesitantly, its eyes filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. Sam approached slowly, not wanting to startle the dog. "Hey there," he said softly. "You've got a way with animals, don't you?" The boy looked up, his eyes wide. "I just like being around them," he said. "They don't judge you." Sam's heart ached at the boy's words. He knelt down beside the kennel, his voice gentle. "What's your name?" "Elliot," the boy replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Well, Elliot, it looks like you've made a new friend," Sam said, nodding toward the dog. "He's been pretty scared since he got here, but you're helping him feel safe." Elliot's face lit up with a small smile. "Really? Really," Sam said. "Sometimes, all it takes is a little kindness to help someone feel like they belong." The interaction stayed with Sam long after Elliot left the center with his parents. It reminded him of why he had started this journey in the first place: to create connections, to show others that they weren't alone, and to give them a chance to find hope. As the seasons changed and the year drew to a close, Sam found himself reflecting on how far he and Max had come. What had once been a life of survival had become a life of purpose and joy. They had built something together, something that not only changed their own lives but also the lives of countless others. One evening, as they sat in their apartment, Sam reached for the framed article that Rachel had given him. He traced the words with his finger, his mind drifting back to the nights on the park bench and the moments of doubt when he thought things would never get better. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" he said, looking down at Max. The dog lifted his head, his amber eyes meeting Sam's with a look of quiet understanding. Sam set the frame down and leaned back, his hand resting on Max's fur. "I don't know what the future holds," he said softly, "but as long as we're together, I know we'll be okay." Max wagged his tail, his unwavering loyalty a constant reminder of the strength they had found in each other. Winter arrived with a crisp chill that wrapped the city in frost-covered mornings and long, starry nights. For Sam and Max, it marked another season of change and growth. The outreach program they had started was now thriving, with new volunteers joining each week and partnerships forming with shelters and organizations across the state. Sam's days were filled with purpose. He spent his mornings at the Animal Rescue Center, afternoons coordinating outreach events, and evenings reflecting on the incredible journey he and Max had shared. Despite his busy schedule, he always made time for their long walks through the park, a tradition that grounded him and reminded him of where it all began. One such evening, as Sam and Max strolled through the snow-dusted paths, they were stopped by a woman bundled in a thick coat and scarf. Her eyes were kind but held a hint of urgency. "Excuse me," she said, her breath visible in the cold air. "Are you Sam?" Sam nodded, his hand resting on Max's head. "That's me. Can I help you?" The woman hesitated, glancing down at Max before speaking. "My name is Laura. I work at a nearby women's shelter, and I've been following your work. I was hoping to talk to you about something important." Sam's curiosity was piqued. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Laura explained that many of the women at the shelter had pets, animals that had been their companions and sources of comfort during difficult times. However, the shelter didn't have the resources to accommodate pets, which often forced women to make the heartbreaking decision to part with their animals. "It's a situation we've been struggling with for years," Laura said, her voice heavy with emotion. "When I heard about your program, I thought maybe there's a way we can work together to change that." Sam listened intently, his heart aching at the thought of families being separated from their beloved pets. He glanced down at Max, who was sitting patiently by his side, his amber eyes filled with quiet understanding. "I'd love to help," Sam said. "Let's figure out a way to make this work." Over the next few weeks, Sam and Laura worked tirelessly to develop a plan. They enlisted the help of Ellen and the Rescue Center, as well as other local organizations, to create a pilot program that would provide temporary housing and care for pets while their owners stayed at the shelter. The program, named Paws and People United, was designed to keep families together, offering a safe space for both humans and animals to heal and rebuild their lives. It was a monumental effort, requiring funding, volunteers, and a dedicated space for the animals. But Sam was determined to make it happen. Max became the program's unofficial ambassador, his story serving as a powerful reminder of the bond between people and their pets. Sam often brought Max to meetings and events, where he quickly won over everyone he met. His calm demeanor and gentle nature had a way of putting people at ease, and his presence was a constant source of inspiration for Sam. The first family to benefit from the program was a young mother named Lily and her son Caleb. They had fled an abusive home with their dog, a scrappy terrier mix named Rocky. For weeks, they had been living in their car, unable to find a shelter that would accept pets. When Laura introduced them to Sam and explained the program, Lily broke down in tears. "I thought we'd have to give him up," she said, her voice trembling. "He's been with us through everything. I don't know what we'd do without him." Sam reassured her, his voice steady and compassionate. "You don't have to give him up. We'll make sure you're all taken care of." Rocky was brought to the rescue center, where he was given a thorough checkup, a warm bed, and plenty of attention from the staff and volunteers. Meanwhile, Lily and Caleb settled into the shelter, knowing that their beloved pet was safe and nearby. For Sam, moments like these made all the hard work worth it. He visited Lily and Caleb often, bringing updates and photos of Rocky, who quickly became a favorite among the volunteers. Watching their family begin to heal was a powerful reminder of why he had started this journey. As the program gained momentum, it began to attract attention from larger organizations and donors. One day, Sam received a call from a representative of a major animal welfare foundation. The foundation was impressed by the success of Paws and People United and wanted to offer a significant grant to help expand the program. "This could be a game changer," the representative said. "With this funding, you could reach even more families and pets in need." Sam was overwhelmed by the offer, but also humbled. He knew that the program's success wasn't just his doing. It was the result of countless people working together, united by a shared belief in the power of compassion. When he shared the news with Ellen, Laura, and the volunteers, the room erupted in cheers. "This is just the beginning," Sam said, his voice filled with determination. "We're going to make a real difference." Despite the program's growing success, Sam never lost sight of the small, quiet moments that defined his bond with Max. Each evening, after the day's work was done, they would return to their apartment and settle into their familiar routines. Sam would cook a simple dinner, and Max would lie by his feet, his tail wagging softly in contentment. One night, as Sam sat at the kitchen table, he found himself reflecting on the journey they had shared. From the cold nights on the streets to the warmth of their new home, from the first hesitant moments of trust to the unbreakable bond they now shared. It was a story of resilience, loyalty, and the transformative power of love. "We've come so far, buddy," Sam said, his voice filled with gratitude. "And it's all because of you." Max lifted his head, his amber eyes meeting Sam's with a look of quiet understanding. In that moment, Sam knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, just as they always had.